All right, so we've got another 3 questions in this week's Q&A, so let's just jump into them. Eric asks, if you had $15,000, how would you most efficiently invest it? Obviously regarding in reselling. Could you realistically expect a 15 to 20% monthly ROI? So could you realistically expect a 15 to 20% monthly ROI? 100%. Especially if you're dropping, 15 grand on, if you're dropping that much money, really the most scalable business model is wholesale. So it really depends on, how much you have to invest, how comfortable you are buying into products. I always recommend, even if you had, let's say you hopped on a consulting session with me, right? And you were like, hey, I've got 15 grand to invest and I have a little bit of experience reselling products online with online arbitrage or wholesale, but not a lot. I wouldn't even recommend drop all 1,500 or all 15,000, excuse me. So what I typically recommend is, in that situation, I'd say get your feet wet with a couple products, because chances are, while you're going to source great products, you also probably will make a mistake on a product here and there. I still make mistakes on products when I'm sourcing for wholesale or liquidation or any of the other things from time to time, okay? So I'm not perfect either. I still make mistakes on products because things on Amazon change, right? The competition could change, the sales rank could potentially tank, the price might drop if somebody hops on the listing and drops the price. So all these things are things that are gonna happen. They're not gonna happen frequently, but they do happen. So sourcing a product here or there, getting your feet wet before you throw all $15,000 into a business model is probably smart, because you're gonna see different kind of indicators of how things are gonna go, right? So you source a product too, you learn, okay, this works and this is why, so I probably should go after products that look like this and replicate, that potential sourcing technique in the future. Versus the complete opposite side, which you'll see as well, right? Hey, I didn't anticipate, maybe I bought 10 of this product for, $10 profit margin at least. I anticipated $100 profit, but I sold 5 of them, and then all of a sudden a bunch of people hopped on the listing, or whatever the issue that you potentially run into. And so you learn from that, right? You learn, okay, I probably should have sourced this because X, Y, and Z, I sourced too many of those, or maybe I anticipated something different. And so you'll make a mistake, and that's totally fine. Chances are, even if you make a mistake, you won't lose money most of the time, right? But every once in a while that does happen, and that's okay as well. So you're gonna learn from your successes, you're gonna learn from your failures as well, so you know what to stay away from in the future. And ultimately, that's really what it comes down to, right? Learning what works for you, learning what doesn't, replicating what works, and avoiding, products that look like certain products in the past that you failed on, right? So if me personally, and this is going to depend for each person, business model to business model, your experience, what you're comfortable with. If I had 15 grand to invest right now, and I know everything that I know, obviously, because you're in the course, so you have access to all the information and techniques and strategies and websites that I know of, right? So if it were me specifically, I'd probably drop 10 grand into wholesale right off the bat. I just source a bunch of wholesale products. I'd probably spend, maybe a week sourcing, if not more, just ironing down good wholesale products to buy. I'd slowly buy into wholesale products, spend that 10 grand, and then slowly scale my business up by reinvesting my profits, right? I wouldn't pull any of my profits out of my wholesale business. I would literally just reinvest them back into quality products. That doesn't mean that I'm forcing all $10,000 if I can't find quality products, although you should be able to with all the websites if you're using the Scan Unlimited and you're using software. So assuming I could find $10,000 worth of quality products with good profit margins, I would spend it, okay? Now if I only found 8 and I struggling to find other ones, I would just wait to spend that other 2,000. I wouldn't force it into products that I knew, or might be borderline, right? I wouldn't force it is what I'm trying to say. So I'd probably drop 10 grand into wholesale products. I'd probably spend a week, sourcing good ones, reinvest on my profits, and scale my wholesale business up. That way, right now, because it's booked textbook season currently, and it's, we're kind of moving into that as well as into Q4, I'd probably drop another maybe, I don't know, 2,500 into books, maybe 3 grand into books there. And because especially with books and textbook season, you're gonna make a lot more money. They're gonna skyrocket in their price and their value. And I know people, especially with everything going on in the world currently, people are worried about students not going back to school, books not holding their value, students not sourcing as many books. But I would argue in today's climate that students are gonna need even more textbooks potentially, even if they don't go back to school physically, because ultimately they're gonna need to learn from somewhere. And if a teacher's not in front of you, well, chances are they're gonna, prescribe a lot more textbook stuff and a lot more reading and things with that, right? So textbook, I don't see that going away anytime soon. So I'd probably spend another 2,500 to 3 grand into textbooks. And then maybe with the other $2,000, if I spend 3 grand into textbooks, I would maybe spend that on like retail products via like, sourcing with Source Mogul or something along those lines, or maybe even scale up with some liquidation pallets and resell them back either on Amazon, although I've been kind of moving away from selling liquidation on Amazon. It works, but I tend to like to sell wholesale books and retail products on Amazon. So I'd probably source some liquidation for eBay, Poshmark, Mercari. So I know I kind of went in a bunch of different directions. To sum it up, yes, you can expect realistically a 15 to 20% monthly profit or ROI, excuse me, especially if you're doing wholesale. That's kind of typical. And one of the benefits of using Scan Unlimited is it will literally show you on the side, anticipating the price on Amazon as well as your sourcing price, what your ROI is expected and what it is, so if that's what you're after, only source products with a 15% or 20% ROI or greater, right? You can literally even sort that in the Scan Unlimited software. So yes, that's a yes for that one. With 15,000, I'd probably drop 10,000 into wholesale products, maybe $3,000 into books right now because of textbook season and we're moving into Q4. And maybe the other 2,000 I'd split between retail products and liquidation. I like to do them all. That doesn't mean that that's probably what's best for you or other people, right? I wouldn't say like if you're just getting into it or you're trying to master one and you haven't really gotten your footing, yet, then you should probably go in 4 directions. You shouldn't. Maybe pick 1 or 2 directions max, master those business models, and then once you master them and you're starting to do well with them, then you can add another, business model specifically to your metaphorical reselling tool belt, okay? So hope that answers your question, Eric. Really great question. Next question is, what information must receipts contain when we send to Amazon for IP claims? So there's a couple things with this one, and I'm not prepared. I literally this is the first time I looked at these questions. So if you're just referring to receipts for IP claims, chances are you probably need an invoice. Now, a receipt will prove authenticity with Amazon. You might need to send it in a couple times, but typically you want invoices, obviously. Now, a receipt won't get you ungated, but it typically will prove authenticity if you send it in a couple times and you get accepted, okay? Now, if your receipt, obviously proving authenticity for an IP claim, which is a little bit different than like authentic products, but I'm assuming you're kind of lumping them all in together. So typically what you're gonna need is like your name or your business, whatever's on your Amazon seller account, source to you, right? So if it's your personal name, then obviously that's fine because you're ordering that to your house or to your apartment or to your warehouse or wherever it is, right? If you have an Amazon seller account with a business name, you need to be ordering to your business, right? So don't order to like, I wouldn't order if my business name was on my Amazon seller account and I was ordering like retail products from a retail site or anywhere else. I wouldn't order to Brian, right? I would then need to order to my business name, same address, but just to my business name. Does that make sense? Because if your Amazon seller account is your business name, it needs to be the business name on the invoice or the receipt, okay? And vice versa. If it's your personal name, obviously then you're just ordering to your personal location with your personal name, okay? So your name, you need the specific product identifier, so the ASIN or the UPC. You're gonna need how many units you had and all that good stuff so that Amazon support can identify, okay, you did literally source this product. Here's the product identifier, for that actual product. It's got to show the condition as well as the, pretty much the ASIN or the UPC so that they can see that you sourced that actual product in the specific quantity and in the specific condition that you listed it in, okay? Good question though. Finally, Susanna says, what can we do about Amazon when Amazon starts to delete our reviews? How can we fight this? How long will we be unable to review products? So great question, Susanna. So I actually I'm not gonna go into full detail in this video right here because I actually just dropped, if you scroll down in the Facebook group a little bit, I actually just dropped a video on this. If you can't find it, comment on this video and I'll literally just link it to you. So I think Deb was one of the people that asked this question. I literally linked a video that I already did covering this in depth of like how you can approach reviews, what happens if Amazon blocks reviews or deletes them. So I'll cover it more specifically and in depth in that video rather than like drawing this video out and doing it again. So that's a great place to start. I would say, start there. Now, if you can't find it, like I said, comment on this video and I'll link it directly to you. But ultimately, if Amazon starts to delete your reviews, watch that video and let your account cool down while you source like coupon or liquidation for a little bit. It is happening a little bit now. It's been happening for the past couple months or so. Chances are they'll move away from it in the future, but it seems like they're kind of cracking down on it currently. So check that video out. Great question. I really hope that helps. And that kind of sums up the Q&A for today. I hope you guys got a lot of value out of it. If you have any specific questions for this week's Q&A going forward, drop it on this video right here, and I'll be sure to answer it in video format next week. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.